Hi all my friends. I have moved from the Colorado River and I still have a few more videos to release from the Colorado River, but I apologize for the delay of getting those videos out since our move. I'm still with Kent, and we are in the outside area of the Buckeye area of Arizona. And anyways, but I apologize for not getting to comments, and it might take me a while to get caught up, but I've had a couple situations that have occurred with Milo. Okay, so it first started at the Colorado River, and one morning I woke up and I heard Milo scurrying inside of the trash. So I got up and I moved the trash, and I didn't think anything of it. And then later that afternoon, all of a sudden, he wasn't feeling very well. Now I could tell he'd been having an upper respiratory issue. He'd been kind of more mucousy around his nose, and because of his pushed face, you know, it's hard for them to breathe in situations. So he had all this, gunky stuff and mucusy around the nose, and he was, definitely having an issue there. And so I was grabbing some Kleenex and to clean up his nose, and as I was checking on him, and then all of a sudden he just started puking. I mean, he was just, vomiting excessive amount, and then he kind of like had like a seizure, and then he fell over and he looked lifeless. And I grabbed him and I ran over to Kent's camp, screaming, oh my gosh, Kent, help me, help me. So as he was lifeless in my arms. So I, was with him, and he got some, stuff for me to clean up his face and his nose, and he did come out of it, and he did breathe. I'm not sure at any point in time did he stop breathing because I was running with him in my arms, but he definitely looked lifeless. So when we cleaned up the face, and he did come out of it quickly, I mean somewhat quickly with as far as breathing, but he still continued to look lifeless. He seemed to be confused. He seemed to be disorientated. Definitely he was in trouble. I put him down on the ground. He had no balance. He would just fall over. He was not aware of basically too much what was going on around him. Now, normally when he sees Rocky, he barks, and he's a tough little dude, against Rocky, and he didn't even notice anything going on around him, Rocky being around him. He just was disorientated and not doing very well for, I would say, about 5 hours that we went through this. It cooled down. It wasn't really extremely hot at that time. But in the evening it cooled down. I had him wrapped up in the blanket. I didn't want to leave him alone, so I continued to supervise him and watch him, and he started to get more coordination back, but he definitely wasn't doing too well for a while. So I would say 5 hours that night. Okay, so this is going to be my suspicion. Because the next day I looked and Googled, I looked in the trash, like what the heck could he have gotten into in the trash. And so the only thing in that trash that was a, suspicion was coffee grounds, used coffee grounds. And everything else, there really wasn't anything in there. And I didn't see evidence really of anything all over the floor. But I did Google, and definitely coffee grounds can cause everything I went through. It could actually kill a dog of my size. Not a whole lot of coffee grounds could kill a dog of his size. So they could go into vomiting, seizures, everything. And so that he was experiencing. And again, we were not in a extreme heat wave at that point. Okay, what I also figured out was, you know, here we are at the Colorado River by Blythe, California, and Ehrenberg, Arizona, and there is no emergency vets. I mean, it was a reality that when you're doing this lifestyle and you're out in the remote areas, you could be really far away from any kind of help for your pet, let alone sometimes ourselves. And I was really helpless. I felt helpless, and really it was just, was he going to live or die? And I couldn't help him beyond that, you know. But anyways, but Google and just be more aware of what is he getting into. So, but he did survive that, I believe, coffee grounds. But then we went into a heat wave. Okay, so and he had diarrhea. There was poop everywhere. He was continued to vomit, diarrhea. So we battled that. And so anyways, but he did pull through. And so then we went through the heat wave. And he's always paddling water, getting into the water, you know, and it was always a battle, as I shared with that last video, battling the heat with keeping water, because he would just, you know, just paw at it in the bowl. And so, and I had a couple bowls out and everything, and trying to keep water for him, which was a challenge. Okay, so we made it through the, you know, the heat wave, 90s and 100-degree heat. Okay, and then we decided to move. It was a Wednesday when everything had cooled down. It was a better travel day. So then we left the Colorado River and came up here closer to the Phoenix area and Buckeye. Okay. Okay, so then what happened is uh, he started to not feel good again. So so we got here Wednesday, and it's now Monday. So I'm kind of still trying to get all this together. So he started to have trouble again. Now it was hard to provide him a lot of water because the bees where we were at, there was so many bees. I had water out for him and the bees were just swarming around the water, so it was awful. We had to end up staying in our rigs until nightfall, you know, because of this horrible bee situation that we were enduring. And then all of a sudden, the next day, Milo started vomiting again and just, you know, diarrhea, and it was just a mess again. And so then he didn't eat for a day and a half. And then it seemed like he did better. He ate his dinner the next night, and then he ended up, I'm sorry, I gave him some Propel. I thought to get his electrolytes up, okay? So I started to do that and just syringed it in him. And then we decided to move. The bees were so bad over there, so we went to another location where we're at now. And all of a sudden, he was just vomiting again. And then, you know, diarrhea just coming out of him. And again, once again, it was just a mess. So finally, I went into town. I was by Walmart trying to pick up my meds and trying to figure out an emergency clinic. So then Walmart ended up suggesting that there was a clinic not too far away from where I was at the Walmart in Buckeye. They have everything in Buckeye. They have PetSmart, they have Fry's, they have Lowe's, it's a really cool town with everything to offer. So there wasn't I thought it was an emergency clinic, and so I'm going to show a clip when we were there at the clinic, and then it turned out that it was an animal hospital, but I thought it was like an emergency clinic, but I realized that it was an animal hospital, but they did see him in between visits. But I made the connection afterwards, after this clip and after I had, you know, gone through the process with them, that they gave me a card of an actual emergency clinic, 24-hour emergency clinic. So I do have that on hand now in case he doesn't get better. Okay, but so here we are sitting at the this animal clinic. They were amazing and wonderful, and we're waiting to be seen. We're at the emergency clinic and we're waiting to be seen in between appointments today. Never heard of an urgent clinic having to have appointments, but that's what we're dealing with. So we're waiting in between appointments to be seen. See if I can get my baby better. All right, so what it is it's believed that he was dehydrated and we were actually battling hypothermia, so a heat stroke, that he wasn't drinking enough water. Number one, can give similar symptoms to the symptoms of coffee ground. So I still believe he might have got into the coffee ground because it wasn't hot at that time, but then because we went into the heat after that, his system was already compromised, and so then it just wasn't having a chance to reboot. And then with all the more heat and everything that kept going on, it just, you know, compounded all of the problems and situation. So they gave him some anti-nausea medicine and stuff like that, and stuff to stop the diarrhea, the vomiting. They put fluids in him, and then I'm syringing water down him every couple hours, you know, just to make sure he's getting enough water inside of him. He's got his wrap on. They also did a blood test, and I'll find out the results on Tuesday. They're checking his pancreas and his gallbladder. He did have a gallbladder issue a while back, so we're still making sure that all of his functions are fine, because definitely when they have a heat stroke, it can affect the brain like it did and everything else, and also you know, compromise his organ function. So they're checking all of that out. So anyways, I've learned something, that I can't trust him to drink enough water, and I do have a tray for him to play in with the water. And but the bees get into it, so I have to cover it, and I dip his feet in there, and it's really difficult right now because of the bee situation. And even where we're at now, it's not as bad, but they're still there, and that water does seem to attract, you know, the bees. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just gonna have to keep an eye on this guy and making sure he's getting enough fluids. So keep that in mind when you travel with pets and you're in warmer climates. They're also checking for valley fever. I guess it's something that they can get in this area, so they're also checking for that, but I don't think that's what's going on here. But I'll do my best to keep up on him and keep him, you know, comfortable through the heat. And just when we're out in the elements like this, it is more of a challenge with my breed, because the push nose breed does overheat a lot easier than, you know, other breeds. Buster drinks enough water because he's on heart meds and diuretics, so that makes him drink a lot more water, but this little guy isn't always prone to do that, so I have to help him make sure that he's getting enough liquids inside of him. And also I could get Pedialyte, so I'll be having that on hand as well. All right, so that's our issue, and I love you all, and thank you for following our story, and I'll keep you posted on how he's doing. Okay, and I'll see you all in the next video.